and welcome to the David Tomsic Show, fighting tyranny just one day at a time. Well, the tariff war is heating up again. Now, to give you some backstory here, if you remember, Donald Trump was going to place 25% tariffs on both Canada and Mexico as of February 1st. That didn't happen. He pushed them back, a reprieve for 30 days. Now, just yesterday, he added a new tariff to the world. It's called a reciprocal tariff. It's against everybody in the world, every country in the world that we know of, and probably some we don't know of. Of course, I'm exaggerating a little bit. Now, these tariffs are going to cause problems for American business, American economy. Now, Donald Trump wants to do these to level the playing field out. He wants for companies to come back and build businesses, build factories here in the United States. He wants India to do it. He wants China to do it. He wants everybody to come back and build factories here. Now, I have said this before. This is unlikely, and there's a lot of reasons for it. First of all, it costs a lot of money to build a factory, especially a high-tech factory, hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's an investment. Meanwhile, Donald Trump will reprieve you from any tariffs if you build here. You build here, your product's still going to be more expensive because it's built here. 3 years later, Donald Trump's gone. There's no tariffs, and you invested billions of dollars all the way around to build factories here that are more expensive to run, hard to staff, and quite frankly, didn't net you any more profit. But I digress there. Now, here's a CNN article. Now, Donald Trump was asked about these tariffs. Would they cost the U.S. citizen money? He says prices could go up somewhat in the short term, but prices will also go down, Trump said Thursday. So Americans should prepare for some short-term pain, he added. Importers who pay the tariffs pass the cost on to retailers, which then raise prices for consumers. Okay? That has left some Trump proponents stunned and angry, including the Wall Street Journal editorial board, which snarkily asked, does Trump understand money? And Republican Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell, in an op-ed in the Courier-Journal, criticized Trump's tariffs for threatening to inflict high costs on Kentuckians. If Americans can't switch to cheaper alternatives as a result of the tariffs enacted, they'll probably wind up paying the cost of the tariffs, Justin Widener, an economist for Deutsche Bank, said. But it also depends on whether manufacturers, retailers, or other companies along the supply chain can absorb any of those costs themselves. Well, here's the answer to that question, which is a question. Will they absorb the costs? And that is supply chains and other companies and retailers. The question is a simple one to answer. They will at first, maybe, but long term, no. Why would you? You're going to pass the costs on to me and you. And in the meantime, Donald Trump wants to get his billion-dollar tax cuts from 2017 extended. Now, the reasons he's doing this great deal on tariffs is he wants to pay for the tax cuts. Now, hold on. Let me explain to those of you that may not be understanding what's happening here. And if you're from the Trump camp, you probably don't. So, Trump wants to give rich people, billionaires, tax cuts, another $1 trillion, basically. Tax cuts. Remember the ones he enacted in 2017. He wants to extend them. In the meantime, he wants to pay for them. He wants to pay for the tax cuts. So he's raising tariffs on goods that me and you buy, that me and you will pay higher prices on. So in the end, wait a minute, we're going to pay for the tax cuts for the billionaires. Really? In the meantime, inflation's going up. And it's, of course, not Donald Trump's problem, right? Because he said, well, you're going to have some short-term pain. How much longer can you blame Joe Biden? In fact, I'm going to read you what's going on here. CPI accelerated to 3% compared to a year ago. This is in January, after several months below the figure and reversing mostly steady downward progress towards a target of 2%. So under the Biden administration, inflation was going down. Okay? It was going down. It was at its lowest rates. And all of a sudden, we're seeing a spike. Inflation reached a 3.5-year low in September of 2.4%. September. Core inflation, which removes the volatile food and energy categories, increased by 3.3% in January compared to last year and had the biggest month-to-month jump since March. Okay, data released by the Labor Department on Thursday showed wholesale prices also jumped hotter than expected last month. Now, wholesale prices track inflation before it reaches the consumers, for those of you that don't know. Now, this is prompting concern because what's happening here is the Federal Reserve was going to lower their interest rate, the Fed funds rate. Important rate, people. That's the rate that really at the end banks borrow money at. And then from there, all the other interest rates are reset up or down depending on if the rate was cut or increased. Now, most people want the rates to drop. Why? So you don't get as high priced automobile at 12% interest rate. You might get it at 10 or 10.5. See where I'm going with this? The government refinances their debt. They want lower interest rates to refinance the debt. But right now, the Fed decided to hold off on any rate cuts because core inflation's going up. And it's going to go up and it's going to continue to go up. And if we have tariffs placed on countries, and right now, there's not a lot happening in that. But when tariffs are actually placed on countries and products start coming into this country and are being taxed that we have to pay, that the retailer has to pay, then you're going to see inflation go skyrocket up. You see what I'm saying here? This is bad economics. This was never a good idea. Now, here's the thing. Here's the bottom line. Donald Trump wants to bully everybody in the world. You may like it. You may not. The bottom line is this isn't always a good idea. You might have some ends to a means or means to an end here. You might think that it's going to help in the long run, but you have to know the big picture. Everybody who's had to deal with Donald Trump over the years realizes he doesn't comprehend this stuff. I know you think he does, many of you. He doesn't. He doesn't look at the ripple effects. He looks at his short-term goal, dominance, being the boss, taking control, making sure that we can get what we want. We're going to punish people. All these things he wants to do, and tariffs is one of those ways he's using. One of the tools he's using will backfire. Companies will not come back here. Some did last time. I will go back and requalify it. Some did. But most of the major ones will not, for the reasons I just stated at the first part of this video. It costs a lot of money to do it. Supply chains interruptions. All these things are on the table. It costs. There's problems. There's risks. And then all of a sudden, no tariffs were enacted. Then all of a sudden, there's a new president and the tariffs are removed. You spent $1 billion to bring your high-end factory here, and you're all of a sudden have labor shortages, high costs, and your product can't compete with everybody else again because of it. As I mentioned, with globalization, those of you that miss this point, the idea of globalization is for other countries to make what they're good at making and sell it on the open market. And we do the same. The problem is we as Americans voted for people that allowed our manufacturing to go overseas. And that is never going to change. It's never going to be cheaper here than it is there. We're never going to have enough manpower to man major factories. We're not going to have enough qualified technical manpower to do it either. That's the statistics. That's what everybody in the world knows. Sorry if that offended somebody. Well, I hope you get this understanding. I hope you've kind of got a grasp on what's happening with the economy. If you watched my previous videos, the Thompson analysis was known for its analysis on economic issues. It's important to talk about economics right now. It's important to bring this topic up because economics is really just a player in the game of geopolitics, of local politics, of American politics. It all fits together. Decisions are made that affect the economy. Many times they're bad decisions, and over the years, we've had a lot of bad decisions. For those of us that are middle class or below, we never have much of a say. $1 trillion tax cut for the rich that we're going to pay for. You can't make that stuff up. That's all the time I have. Don't forget to join the revolution. Right here on the David Thompson Show, we're starting a revolution against tyranny, against hatred, against bigotry. We're starting a revolution against tyranny. Join our cause. I appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our video. We're great people here. God bless you, and we'll see you next time right here on the David Thompson Show. Join the revolution.